Mother Teresa was hardly an inclusive or a modern woman. She was the antithesis of modernness. She once told an American journalist that contraception causes cancer. She went around the whole world preaching, actively trying to stop abortions when women had been raped or gang raped. The babies would be fed from one bowl. 10 babies would be fed from one bowl. They would be put on the normal household drain to defecate. And it's not only me. People have taken pictures of babies being tied to cots.
Welcome, Dr. Chatterjee, for this conversation. Welcome to
Very
Swarajya.
kind.
I know that you've had this conversation earlier with one of our colleagues, but
Yes,
it's
I
very
did.
important that people actually get to know more about your work because you're one of the
Yes,
first people who've actually challenged the thesis that Mother Teresa be regarded as a symbol of selflessness and courage and
selflessness. Yes,
whatnot. And I think even today in school textbooks and history syllabus, that is how she's going down. And you have actively worked, on a factual basis to expose a lot of these hypotheses that's
correct.
popularly put up in literature. When did you actually get this thought that maybe Mother Teresa as a personality is not all hunky dory as people make it out to be?
I was actually a modest fan of hers. When I left India for UK in 1985, I knew very little about her. I was a left activist. You could say I probably still am. I did work in slums and with very poor people and very working class people, etc., like rickshaw pullers, etc. I never ever came across in the course of my political work ever anything to do with Mother Teresa. When I used to go to my medical college along Lower Circular Road, and I used to take a shortcut, I used to see a very small periodic soup kitchen that she used to run, and I used to feel thankful that she was feeding at least 50 people 3 times a week. That's all. That is all I knew about her before I came to the United Kingdom. Once I came to the United Kingdom, that was in 1985. Gradually, I was told by people, and it dawned on me that Mother Teresa was running Calcutta single handed, and she was feeding every single person there. Not only feeding, she was clothing them. She was looking after their every single need. She was marrying off the girls as soon as they reached a certain age. She was running numerous schools and colleges. She was running every single hospital in the city. There was nothing in the city of Calcutta that wasn't run by Mother Teresa. That was the myth. That was the image, and I'm sorry to say that is still the image now in vast parts of the world, because as a single person, how much can I do? I think the opposition to the myth, or the challenge to the myth, has to come from Indians and Calcuttans. I mean, I'm exhausted as a single person. I'm absolutely exhausted and depressed.
Right.
So that's when if in answer to your question, when I realized is about 1987, I think I realized that this was going on and that this had to be challenged.
So, and even 30, 40 years later, people are yet to
Right.
realize a lot of these facts. What actually surprises
It's
me is
very
that the meteoric rise of Mother Teresa as a personality, that to having some sort of a religious symbolism, all happened under the lens of the left. The left, which stood against religion, the left, which stood against personality cults, and this all happened when the communists were in power in West Bengal.
I think you have actually you got me on a very sensitive point there, because I used to be an active worker of that particular party. I'm still quite a modest sympathizer or a strong sympathizer of that party. So I'm not one to defend them when they're wrong. I can honestly, that Buddhadev Babu, the previous chief minister, and Biman Bose, they can't stand her, but they kept quiet. Jyoti Babu was fond of her. Jyoti Babu had a huge ego, and the ego of hers and his. sort of matched each other. And Jyoti Babu thought, well, I am a great man because Mother Teresa loves me so much, and she comes and sees me. So can you imagine how great I am? That was his kind of. I think that was his subconscious telling him. But Buddha Babu and Biman Bose, they know how destructive she is to Calcutta's image and how she wasn't actually doing anything and she's getting all the credit. However, as you very well know, that if they came out publicly against Mother Teresa, they would be called communal, and immediately their, the secular image would disintegrate. So they were very careful not to do it. But in private conversation, they would often do it. I've got letters from Buddha Babu implying or even saying that she wasn't happy as to what happened, what she did. Biman Bose, who's obviously as just as powerful as Buddhadeb, he once did an interview with a Middle Eastern newspaper called Khalij Times, where he did say that, whatever we do in order to promote the state, people like Mother Teresa destroys all our. What's happened? I can't see you. Yeah, sorry. So Biman Bose, the general secretary of CPIM, West Bengal CPIM, state secretary rather, he did say once that whatever we do in the state in order to promote our business and bring foreign investment, people like Mother Teresa destroy all the efforts because the image is so gruesome. So you're absolutely right. I'm not shirking that criticism. The communists who are against religion, but they are not against personality cult. I mean, they do,
Yeah,
communists do have a problem with
yeah.
personality cult.
But
But
why do you think
why did they?
that comment actually came about? Is it because Mother Teresa was sort of marketing and glorifying poverty that existed in Calcutta?
Nobody knew actually what she was doing. They had no interest in it.
Hmm.
They didn't. I can assure you, except for Buddhadev, nobody actually knew. And Bikash Bhattacharya, who was the mayor, CPM mayor, and now he's a Rajya Sabha MP. These two people knew about her activities, but nobody else of any party knew or even knows as to what she was doing abroad, what damage she was doing to the city and to the state and to India as a whole. Because the image she portrayed of India all over the world was that they're a bunch of helpless idiots, morons who just lie on the street wailing and putting their hands up like this until she comes along in her shiny blue ambulances and she picks them up and takes them to her various homes and sends the boys to their schools, wash them and everything. Unfortunately, under Mamata Banerjee, this image has amplified because Mamata Banerjee obviously is not educated, and she's like an aggressively secular person. She thinks that to promote these sort of religious fundamentalists of all hues is kind of a kudos to her secularism. It promotes her image as a very tolerant person. If Mamata can portray right wing bigots and reactionaries as loved figures. So what Mamata has done is make statue after statue of Teresa in many places in Calcutta, have murals. She's named a major road after that woman. This is, what the saddest thing is in Calcutta and in India. I won't only blame Bengalis and Calcuttans. All over India, is the club going set, is the convent educated set, is the anglicized set, the English speaking set, who love that woman so much because they think that appreciating and loving Mother Teresa is some kind of it's a mark of being modern and being inclusive. But I don't have to tell you, I don't think I have to tell you that Mother Teresa was hardly an inclusive or a modern woman. She was the antithesis of modernness. I think she was pre-medieval. She opposed contraception in within marriage. Within marriage, she would oppose contraception. She once told an American journalist that contraception causes cancer. She went around the whole world preaching, actively trying to stop abortions when women had been raped or gang raped. So this is the woman Indians, modern Indians, convent educated Indians, English speaking Indians worship as a modern icon. And these same Indians would be absolutely vicious about a Saffron Baba who would be doing probably much milder things and who would have much milder belief systems. So I think that this really pains me, and this is really really sad.
And there's this whole controversy around her enabling a lot of evangelicals and conversions in particular. Uh,
Oh my God!
what's the theory around that? Because today,
There is no
post
theory. There is proof.
conversions and
I can send you the proof.
mhm.
Okay, in about 1997, I got hold of a video where Teresa was gloating. She was absolutely championing secretive conversions of people who came to her so-called home for the dying. It's a disgusting, a gruesome place. And she was telling a private audience in San Francisco in a hospital called Scripps Clinic. I've got the video that how she had converted. That was this speech was happening in January 1993. How she had secretively converted 29,000 people. So imagine how more she might have converted by 1997 when she died. You see, like a total idiot, I thought, well, if I make this video public, when I got the video, it was, I think it's 1997, 98. So when I thought, well, if I make this video public, there might be a riot or something, so I keep it secret. So I didn't actually. I completely hushed it up, and then around about 2016, I made it public. Nobody even bothered. Nobody even asked questions as to how come this has been allowed. This is a serious transgression of human rights. Personally, I don't mind if people convert over a bag of rice or over sex or marriage or anything. I don't care as long as they're doing it in full consciousness. We all do things as transactions. I mean, I know people get married in exchange of dowry. I don't like it, but people do it, and conversion isn't much of a less of an issue for me. I'm an atheist, so if somebody wants to believe in a kind of God, let them believe what kind of God, and if they are materially benefiting through that, I don't care. But if I'm unconscious, how would I feel that if I wake up to find that somebody has changed my religion or changed my my belief system? It's not done. So I had thought when I made that video public that there would be a big hoo-ha and hue and cry, especially in the right-wing Hindu circles, but there was none, unfortunately. I'm not surprised.
And she was also targeting a lot of young kids because that is specifically something that she and her organization would market again and again, that she is the savior of small children. But the truth is, even those people were subject to conversions. And at least
Yeah, yeah.
adults,
They
like you
no
said,
none.
have a certain choice, but children don't.
No, none of them came out as Hindus. Whoever she took in, unless because when the government of India changed the rules that you have to offer the children first to a Hindu couple
Right.
before you send them abroad. Before that rule, she used to essentially sell the children to the highest bidder, to Catholic couples. And if they ended up in her homes or orphanages, none of them grew up as Hindus or Muslims. They all
But it's
all
not
ended up
just
being
about their
Christians.
religious identity, because this is some sort of enslavement. You're literally,
Yes,
shipping off children to other countries so that they could grow up in a certain
yes, yes.
circumstance
I
under
think.
a white household.
Well, I don't mind if it's a loving white household. Often they were probably loving, but the fact is that there is a boy. He's still around, a Belgian boy called Jonathan Powell, who was actually sold for 1 lakh rupees. Him and his sister were each sold for 1 lakh rupees, and 1 lakh rupees actually in 1986, I think, was a lot of money in those days. Pound was only 12 rupees to the pound. um, and he used to come back to Calcutta quite frequently to find his older sister, who he thinks, or at least thought, was still alive. And I don't think he has found her, but he managed to find his own documents in Premdan, and he found that everything about him was falsified so that he could be sold to that Belgian Catholic couple. Mother Teresa has a big fan in a chap called Gautam Lewis, who lives in UK, who is lame from polio. Um, he often comes on and sings her praises, which is fine because his point is that without her I would be nothing. But he had a gruesome, terrible time in the orphanage. But what he doesn't tell you, that his mother, Patricia Lewis, is one of the most prominent Catholics in UK. She works for Chatham House, which is a very high up foreign policy advisory body, and she comes from a very upmarket, very high class Catholic background. And Teresa waited until she could find that kind of family to adopt him too. So that's something he wouldn't tell you. So this is how she did, uh, case by case. She sent their children to Catholic families abroad in exchange of large amounts of cash. And the cash transactions obviously came out in 2016-17 when people realized that babies were being sold, and then they stopped. Obviously, they said that we are too holy and we are above all this. We're not going to do any more adoptions, etc. I don't know whether they still do adoptions or not. I'm not sure, but I think they made this affectations and this posturing that, yeah, we are a bit too above all these things, so we are not going to get involved in adoptions.
And I remember you telling me that you visited these orphanages on multiple occasions, and the conditions that you saw in those orphanages were
Absolutely gruesome.
appalling.
Yes, absolutely gruesome. Often you would have seven, eight children, babies to a cot.
Mhm.
The babies would be fed from one bowl. 10 babies would be fed from one bowl. They would be put on the normal household drain to defecate. And it's not only me. People have taken pictures of babies being tied to cots. Don't worry about me. I'm obviously a bit biased, but if you look at Sky TV on August 2006, sorry, 2005, 1st August 2005, Sky TV, investigative journalist from United Kingdom called Donald McIntyre. Donald, not with a D, Donald McIntyre, Irish name. He went in with a hidden camera and he found gruesome abuse, including numerous babies tied to cots. That was rampant. Everybody knows that. And Mother Teresa used to come and take away all the toys, and the toys used to be sold in the local people, the little shops that are around her orphanages and homes. They are, every one of them is aware that all the supplies are sold off by the nuns. That's such common knowledge. If you even ask, is it, I can't believe this happens, they would look at you like this. They said, well, it's been happening for the last 50 years. What are you asking? In Christmas time, people send clothes, crates and crates of clothes. They're all sold immediately. The food is sold off. The toys are sold off. So what are you talking about?
Presumably, they would say perhaps they would give a justification that the money that they earn from selling off these clothes and toys would be again used to sustain a few more children.
No, no, no. But the nuns were doing it to send it to their families in South India. That's what, on Bihar,
Uh-huh.
because the nuns are all from South India and Bihar. There were probably less than 1% nuns from West Bengal. They're
Okay.
every single nun I've met from Bihar and southern India.
But, is there a particular reason for that, or it's just because a lot of these nurses actually come from Kerala and a lot of these southern states?
They're not nurses; they're novices.
Hmm.
They're novices training to be nuns. Yeah, there's no particular reason why she didn't attract anybody from West Bengal to join her order. I don't know the particular reason for that,
Yeah,
but it is a fact that the Christian states are predominant, followed by the Adivasi community
right.
of Bihar.
And there's one of the reason that she enjoys popularity in the Vatican, and she's been continuously honored time and again.
She's enjoyed incredible popularity in the Vatican. Incredible. I mean, I think the Vatican obviously realized that they were a bunch of no hopers with their huge hats and their robes and their pedophilia scandals. But if they could promote this woman who was purer than pure, holier than holy, kinder than kind, and she was the purest, holiest, bestest, absolutely incredibly perfectest person that humanity has ever produced, then that would enhance their popularity and their image. Because if she didn't come along, all people would now talk about the Vatican is pedophilia. Don't forget, it's an institutionalized pedophilic organization where priests joined, young men joined, in order to satisfy their terrible lusts. That probably still is true. That was definitely true until 5 years back under John Paul II, who Mother Teresa's best friend. But now I think it's still true.
Yeah.
In the Western world, if you say what does Vatican remind you of, most liberals and younger people would say, well, pedophilia and scandals, because every pedophilic scandal, every scandal that comes up in the Vatican, the Western press and the media, they really publicize it bigly.
Right.
Quite, it's huge. One there was a Oscar winning film that was done on
Spotlight.
it
Yes.
about 5 years back. I can't remember the name. What's it called?
Spotlight.
Spotlight. Correct. Correct.
It was a brilliant
Okay.
movie. In fact, that was one of the first movies that we were shown as journalism students.
Oh,
And it
really?
really
Anyway,
opened
so
up
you know
our
the
eyes.
name.
We had no idea about any of this.
Exactly, and there was another one which was done, which is a total documentary, not a feature like Spotlight, which was done by a very excellent documentary filmmaker on the Catholic Church's pedophilic network in Milwaukee. It's really a must watch. It's a really good film. Anyway, but these films are virtually banned in India.
Yeah.
The news of Vatican pedophilia doesn't even occur in at the bottom of the foreign news in Indian newspapers.
Yeah.
It's not a conspiracy. I don't think so.
No, it's not.
But
Because it's very interesting. In Spotlight, they do mention several incidents that happened in India. And I don't recall reading any of that, from India, because an incident like that where, certain kids were abused by a priest in a church, those are not things that you easily forget. Though, especially
no
because we are a religious, religion obsessed
society.
nation
Yeah,
in
yeah,
all forms and kinds.
yes,
Uh, so even with the abuse of the nuns in Kerala, and the stories that you've been hearing in the last 1 or 2 years itself, you get to know that there is an entire section of the press which is openly, unapologetically defending a lot of these actions in the church.
correct.
Is what I
Or
have read,
ignoring,
in the beginning of
ignoring
my
and
career.
defending both. And when it comes to Mother Teresa, it's actively defending and ignoring. Again, it's not conspiracy. I don't think they're paid, but you know what it is, because they all went to convent schools and they have been brainwashed from nursery level that Catholicism is superior, uh, Jesus is superior to anything you can ever think of. You know, forget about the heathens. Just keep the order going and don't rock the boat. I think that is because the opinion formers in India, they all went to convent schools,
It
and
is
that's why
true.
this
I
this
have
is spread.
studied for most of my life in only Catholic institutions. And, we did have a debate on Mother Teresa. I remember once in college. And I was one of the people who was really inspired by your work and Christopher Hitchens. And Christopher Hitchens did have some sort of a massive impact on my life and my philosophical debating, so to speak. And once I put forth these arguments based on facts that you have uncovered, and I was branded as closet Sangi, or like a conservative who
Oh
doesn't
no,
want to be
oh
out
no.
in the open.
I think it's disgraceful. I mean, if I talk to you because you're Swarajya, I may be called by some liberals, not everybody, as a right wing Hindu nationalist. Obviously, I don't give a anything, but the fact is that this is very sad. That I said, I made it very clear. Look, as a left liberal in India, would a liberal outlet or a liberal media house give me a platform? Tell me, will a liberal person listen to me when I say that Mother Teresa opposed contraception in marriage? Mother Teresa was going around the world stopping raped women, raped young women from getting abortions, like she did in Ireland in 1993, I think, 1991, I think, is the Miss X case of Ireland, where she went for to stop one abortion in one case of a rape of a child by a neighbor. So, do you think that these things are interesting to you? If I say to you, no, and then you are accusing me of talking to a saffron organization, because I want to. I'm not. I don't want any publicity for myself. I want publicity for my cause, and I want these lies to stop, because these are historical problems. If you build up this woman who was absolutely a terrible creature of the cave as a pure person, then you are doing history an injustice, and we have to rectify. I have a duty to rectify it, because obviously my culture doesn't allow me to allow this to happen.
It's interesting that you mention a lot of her visits to these different countries because I remember reading some of your articles and excerpts from your book where she visits a lot of these countries, even in South America, and she's treated as some sort of a cult figure who actually has an influence over millions of people and how they think and how they worship.
Yeah. No, she hardly ever stayed in or lived in Calcutta. To be honest with you, she spent every single year from 1978 or 77 onwards until her death. She spent the whole of summer and monsoon in US, Europe, and particularly United States. Although Vatican was her actual home, Calcutta wasn't. She felt most at home in the United States, which is a highly religious country and very right wing, obviously. So she felt very much welcome and very much at home there. And also Reagan loved her to bits. So she had a room earmarked for her in the at the Reagan White House, and she had she had her bed warm and her
Right.
little hot water bottle ready for her.
Oh, this is very
So,
interesting. I didn't know about this.
oh my God, she was really close to Ronald Reagan and Nancy Reagan, highly, highly. And Reagan was a strong anti-abortion activist,
Right.
also very anti-poor and pro-gun. Well, that's besides the point. Um, so she used to whiz back to Calcutta just about autumn time, just mid-October, and then she would hang around a little bit when the air would turn mild and quite cool, and all the cricket teams would start arriving, and she would pose with the cricket teams. And everybody would say, "Oh, Mother Teresa, you're working non-stop in the slums and in the streets." And she said, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can. I challenge you something. She worked in slums and streets. Apart from propaganda films and stage photographs, show me one photo of Mother Teresa after 1980, 82, 83, of her working in the slums. Show me one picture. You wouldn't be able to, because she didn't even know any slum. Her nuns, they're not allowed in the slum after, they're not allowed outside the premises of their homes or the orphanages after 5:36, because they had this sort of 3 or 4 hours of prayer a day, and they had to retire quite early, so they were not allowed to go out after 6 o'clock. So there was no scope of working in the slums or in the streets. And they used to just, I mean, I can show you pictures and videos of her nuns just walking past people asking for help, because that's how they did. I can show you pictures um, of the nuns shutting the door on the face of a woman who was asking for help for her child, and just said, and I've got it on video, thankfully, that the nun said to the woman that I can't take your child in if you give us the rights to keep the child permanently, i.e., we're going to sell it. So the woman was obviously very abusive and didn't agree. So I've got it on video. So this is, and then she at the time she was alive,
Right.
and this is the culture she had. This is her practice. This was her practice.
We can actually play some of those videos, so I'm going to collect it
I
from
can,
you later.
that video I'm talking about is actually very long, so
Mhm.
it'll probably take a whole night to send over to you. But the conversion video, I can send it to you straight
Sure.
away if you want.
Sure. And everyone's curious, actually, what's the story and how did you come across Christopher Hitchens? How did you meet him? And how did
Oh
he
yeah,
have an
that's
interest
not
in
a very
Mother Teresa?
no. He had a very brief and I mean a flying interest, as you might say, about her. He had interest in many things, but my when I decided to do something, I approached Tariq Ali's. Tariq Ali is a Marxist in UK, like a professional rabble rouser and troublemaker, really. So he's like me. I mean, I'm also on the same in the same sort of category on a much lower scale, though. He's on a higher level. So I approached his company, film company called Bangdung Productions. It's folded up; it doesn't exist anymore. So he wasn't directly involved. His deputy, who used to look after the film company, she was involved, but she had the same obviously attitude as him. So I explained to her that, look, I'm proposing to you a film of this sort. Would you approach any of the television houses to do? She says, yeah, yeah, that's a good idea. We might do that and if see what they say. And then when Channel Four agreed to do the film, she came back to me and said, look, we need a presenter for this film, and I think Christopher Hitchens will be a very good presenter because I know him from my time at the Nation magazine in US, and he's just the right person. So that's how Hitchens came into it, not because of his huge interest in this topic. It was through me and through Vania, who was the producer.
But those kind of debates, open debates on religion, on being atheist, is almost impossible, given the political climate today in India. Um,
It's not impossible in West Bengal. No, no, we've always
yeah,
done it.
especially West Bengal.
No, no, no. West Bengal, it's quite easy actually to be an
Uh,
atheist. Still, no, no, it's not. I think you guys have the wrong idea that in West Bengal people are. You have to go to the local imam to get your daily bread. No, or the bag of rice. No, it's not like that. It's West Bengal is still quite a if you want to be extremely non-religious, you can be quite happily. Nobody, that, and in certain classes of society, that's even the norm. I mean, if you are, say, a singer or a performer or an intellectual, so-called, and if you say I'm a believer in any religion, people look at you as if you're some kind of weirdo. So it's very cool to say that, look, I'm an atheist, I'm
but that's
homosexual.
declining, especially because the left has almost lost its relevance and it's become an echo
Left
chamber.
left is left is done for, yeah, in West Bengal, unfortunately. But I think the place of religion is still pretty low actually in West Bengal as a respectable place. The religion doesn't really have a very respectable high place. That's my reading of it.
I
That
will disagree with you, but we will set that aside for later.
I mean, yeah, maybe I'm a bit biased. I think I don't know. I don't think what
The
I would
reason
I
why
would
I tell
disagree.
you this is there were two times that I visited Bengal recently. One of the times
Right.
I went with a person who is avowedly a leftist, and he grew
Okay.
up in Jadavpur University. He studied there, and he has this very liberal culture in his own
Okay.
way of doing student politics and all of that. So we visited a lot of these hotspots in Calcutta where these intellectual discussions and debates would take place. And I know the culture that he's actually talking about, and I think I really respect that. But I think there is another Calcutta, there is another side to Bengal that people don't often look at, where it's a
Mm.
highly religious place where
Oh,
Hindus
yeah,
actually go to temples. They're extremely religious for that matter. Uh,
that's the mainstream. I
right,
agree. That's the mainstream.
but
However, what I'm saying is that if you are anti-religion, not only non-religion, extremely anti-religion, in Calcutta and West Bengal, you can shout that, look, I hate all religion, or it's all bunk. Nobody would even look at you. It's still a safe place for that. That's what I'm saying. But you're quite right. The mainstream is actually pretty religious. All goddess Kali and Durga. Durga is obviously not that strong. She's strong at the festival, but the Kali devotion is and the Krishna devotion is very very strong. in
After
mainstream. Yeah.
Mother Teresa actually passed away, why hasn't there been any efforts to revive somebody of that stature? Or what's actually the status of the missionaries of charity? Are they as
Do you know
active
what?
today?
I have kind of lost interest on that. You can contact my friend Hemley Gonzalez, who in 2004, I think, he came to Calcutta. He comes from a Catholic background, Cuban Catholic background in the US. He came to Calcutta with great hopes in his mind to work for her and enhance himself. And then within 2 weeks, he was so disgusted that he went to the police, lodged an FIR, and closed the whole home down by just creating a huge rumpus.
Okay.
He just said that this is all bullshit and fraud and everything. And he printed leaflets and distributed amongst local people and amongst the volunteers, saying that this is the worldwide racket. And then what he did was he sold his business, real estate business, and started his own charity called Responsible Charity. And would you believe, in the last month, he's been endorsed by KKR, and Pat Cummings introduces him now in
Wow.
the little video clips. I was very impressed, actually. He's my very close friend, so you can contact him. How he became disillusioned within 2 weeks, and how he started his movement, how he started his own charity. He's a great man.
Yeah, I
I
think that'll
really
be a
respect him. He's
fantastic conversation.
extremely, yeah, he's extremely, how can I put it? He's extremely methodical, the way in what he does. So he would tell you as to exactly what the current situation of the organization is. And his one of his websites is called Stop the Missionaries of Charity, with a picture of Teresa with a cross through her.
Right.
He really hates her with a passion.
And does it disappoint you that even with the right being in power for almost a decade now, there's been very
Yes.
little effort to actually even support the people who are critical of people like Mother Teresa?
I mean, one of the reasons being that maybe because I am obviously quite strongly left, being an opponent, so it's a bit difficult to support me, I suppose. But on the other hand, I didn't expect that Modi was singing her paeans in Man Ki Baat after she was canonized, and the whole thing about her, which didn't make any sense to me, what he said anyway. And there was this delegation sent by, I think, the BJP government in 2000 and whatever, after they came to power, I think, um, that to the Vatican. When Mamata Banerjee went to Vatican, wanted to meet the Pope, was kicked out. She wasn't allowed because she wanted to present the Pope with a Bengali Bible wrapped in a Bengal silk. The Pope said that he's too busy. Sorry, I can't meet you. I mean, this is really an insult, isn't it? That the chief minister of the state that made the Vatican so famous, and he couldn't even give her 5 minutes to meet her. But obviously, Indians don't have any sense of respect when white people insult them. They think it's a great honor. So she just came away singing, and she was singing in the street, Ravinder Sangit, disgraceful. Um,
I've
I think, that,
always,
yeah, go on.
felt this. I- I- does it have to do with the cultural synthetic of Bengal, or if I look at Mamata Banerjee, sometimes I feel that she's
Yeah.
trying to somehow imitate and copy Mother Teresa's image in a certain way.
I think you may be right there. If you look at the color scheme,
Yeah,
if you look at a sari, if you look at her attitude, it may be subconscious, it may be unconscious, but I think that is there. But don't forget that Derek O'Brien, her right hand person, is a staunch Catholic and a very staunch supporter of Mother Teresa.
right.
Mamata Banerjee is, yeah, very. And Mother Teresa obviously is uneducated. Sorry, Mother Teresa was uneducated. Mamata Banerjee is also uneducated. So I think there is that connection. Plus, whatever Derek says to her, look, Mother, if you say that you come from the city of Mother Teresa, people would think very highly of you. Actually, the opposite. So Calcutta, Mamata Banerjee doesn't know that Calcutta is known as a city of gutters and lepers and sewers and nothing else. There is no electricity, no roads, no hospitals, no human beings even. Only limbless lepers and destitute, that they're lying on the streets. So it's no point telling her because she doesn't know, doesn't want to know. I don't blame her because most Calcuttans don't want to know this and they don't know this, even who are so called convent educated. So you may have a point that maybe Mamata Banerjee tries to emulate her. Maybe she's never said. She doesn't actually nowadays talk about her in public.
Right.
Maybe there has been some realization that has crept in. Moha Moitra is a very urbane, articulate, educated woman. Maybe she has. I don't think she's. They're very close, but it's possible Moitra may have said certain things to her. So I don't know
Or
where
it
they
may be
stand,
just
but I can.
that Mother Teresa is growing irrelevant, even in Bengal for that matter.
She has been irrelevant for quite a while, but she's not irrelevant in the world because, as you may know, the Sky documentary has done a huge three-part documentary only recently, and that has been shown in UK and Ireland and created quite a wave. It will never be shown in India because it's fairly critical. The first part is neutral. The second, the part two and part three are fairly critical. And I spent about 10 hours being interviewed about her for this documentary. So her the interest that she generates in the world is still very high. Uh, I will say, without undue modesty, that she would have been higher than Gandhi if I didn't come along. But thankfully, or unfortunately for her, I came along and I really stymied that meteoric rise to that Gandhi like status. So
You
she is
did.
now, he's gone.
No, no, go on.
Okay, what I'm saying is that now in the Western world, at least in the liberal Western world, that is in the Western European press, media, TV, whatever, or in certain parts of even US media, which is a very religious country, whenever she's mentioned, people, most people often say the controversial, she remains a controversial figure, not a figure beyond reproach, beyond controversy, beyond everything. That was happening until I came along and stopped that in the tracks. So that's something I will be happy to die with that knowledge, to be honest with you.
Absolutely. I mean, I personally always felt that the brand Gandhi has been abused time and again for political reasons, for marketing the nation itself, for that matter. Otherwise, why would somebody like Narendra Modi, who's associated with the RSS and the BJP, and have silent disagreements with Gandhi and the way in which he led his politics, be branded all over the world time and again. So I think Mother Teresa kind of took that inspiration from Gandhi, but there were certain limitations because at least maybe in theory Gandhi's intentions were pure and his intentions were right, but Mother Teresa's were not.
Gandhi never lied. Mother Teresa lied non-stop. She was a natural liar. Gandhi, I don't like him,
Right.
but Gandhi, you have to say that he was a very honest person.
Yes.
The Gandhi image was actually built up mostly by the West because it's kind of suited them. That an Indian spiritual fakir, a saint who is above everything, who cares for nothing, etc., etc. And it's a very simplistic model. You don't have to think much. That he and even very educated people in the West think that India got freedom only through Gandhi and nothing else. How did India get freedom? Only one word answer: Gandhi. That's it. And that's a very, you don't have to think, you don't have to read anything, and that's very simple to remember. Uh, Mother Teresa is similar. That how does India survive? How does Calcutta survive such a big city? Mother Teresa, nothing else. You don't have to think. So the whole Gandhi image was a Western
Yeah.
creation, mainly. I think.
This is exactly what I thought about Taj Mahal as well, because it's overrated as a structure, as a monument. I mean, it's beautiful, no doubt, but separating all the debate that's going on right now, even Prime Minister Modi had to host Donald Trump and Melania in Taj Mahal, in spite of
Because
having
they wanted to, yes.
ideological differences.
No, but you see, Taj Mahal the myth was created by Lord Curzon, who fell in love. I mean, there was nothing in it. I mean, there was no background reason for it. Some people just fall in love with Taj Mahal. Some people are neutral. Some people are a little bit
Yeah.
disappointed. Anyway, So Curzon just fell in love with the place, and he was the one who really promoted it amongst the British community and the Western community, and that's how it took off. I think anyway.
So, would you agree that the overarching problem here is that we are still very colonial in our outlook, because that colonialism in our mind is still very rock solid, because we often do
I don't
not
know
challenge
why.
this popular hypothesis, whether it's Gandhi,
Why?
Taj Mahal, or Mother Teresa.
It's beyond me. Western education doesn't makes you free. I'm a son of Macaulay. Yeah, I love Macaulay. I love. What would I be without Macaulay? I would be a bloody priest in some village temple, in a little dhoti and doing brum brum brum. My life is because of Western education, right? And it makes you free. It makes you think. So I think these people who call themselves convert, they are not actually educated. They're not Western. They're just weird. They're spineless. Why do they have to and why can't they think? It's obvious. In the age of internet, the information is there. What Mother Teresa believes, it's in her Nobel speech. Read the damn Nobel speech, that where she goes on about how she was funding natural contraception to stop people from slum women from using contraception. She is saying that she gave slum women who can't read and write vaginal thermometers to put on a graph. Do you think middle class women can graph their temperature on a to put vaginal thermometers in their vaginas and chart the temperature on a graph on a wall? I doubt very much that middle class educated women can do that. And she told the Nobel in her Nobel speech that slum women were doing that, who can't read and write and who are always getting malaria fevers. And the temperature would be up and down, meaningless anyway. And this is in the, I think, current some school textbooks in West Bengal. And nobody questions it. No Indian questions it. Some must have read it. Why not? I mean, this is basic. You don't have to be a greatly inquisitive mind to question this bullshit. You can just say, well, it doesn't really sound true. And how come
Right.
such a great woman is stopping women from getting contraception?
Dr. Chatterjee, before we log off, I'm very confident that people like me, and there are a lot of people like me who look up to you, because you've challenged popular literature, and it's not something to do, it's something easy. It's not easy to go against the
Very
wave.
difficult.
What would your advice to young people who have a lot of curious questions in mind and critical questions in mind be?
I don't know. I don't know many young people. I just tell them that look, don't don't just read English as if you want to be an English person. Be a Western person in the way of asking questions. Western education teaches us not to be a gurukul student. It teaches us to ask questions and question everything, to have a curious mind. That is the most important thing. And speaking in English is immaterial if you cannot ask questions and if you cannot think. That's my message maybe.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chatterjee. It has been lovely speaking to you.